was 10 years old when this happened. There was a small park close to my house where I used to hang out after school with 3 kids from the neighborhood. Growing up, I didn't really have friends my age. Most of the neighborhood kids were much older, some were even in college. The 3 kids I played with were a year older than me, and my mom only let me go to the park if I was with them. Never alone, and I had to be home around 7. My dad didn't like me going at all. He said the park wasn't safe because there weren't many kids around most days. One afternoon, my friends were busy with after-school activities and couldn't come. I still wanted to go, so I lied to my mom and said they were waiting. I went to the park alone. The park was laid out in 3 parts. First, the little kids section with its squeaky swings and colorful slides. Then, a cracked concrete basketball court. And finally, in the back, the woods, where a network of jogging trails disappeared under a canopy of dense trees. It even had its own separate entrance for runners off the main road. That day, the only sound was a basketball thumping in the distance. I sat on a swing, barely moving, nervously watching the road. My house was close enough that if my dad came home early, he'd spot me instantly. I kept scanning for his car, my stomach in knots. I was so focused on the street. I didn't see him approach until he was already there, a man suddenly standing between me and the road, cutting off my view. My mom had always warned me not to talk to strangers. I remember feeling annoyed at first because he was blocking my view of the road. Then I started to feel uncomfortable, even though I didn't know why. I kept swinging. After a minute, he said, "Your mom is looking for you." I froze. My stomach dropped. I thought she had found out I lied. He continued, "She asked me to bring you home." That didn't make any sense. My mom would never ask a stranger to pick me up. And if she knew where I was, she would have come herself and dragged me home. He pointed past the playground toward the jogging path that led into the trees and said she was over there. That confused me. The playground entrance was closer to my house. There was no reason she would go that way. He stepped closer and said, "She's right over there. Come on." That's when I ran. I didn't say anything. I just sprinted straight home. I didn't look back until I was almost there. When I got inside, my mom smiled and told me to wash up because dinner was ready. I was still shaking, so I just nodded. I never told my parents what happened. I was too scared of getting in trouble for lying. Sometimes I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't run. This happened to me in the fall of 2019. I was a university student at the time, burnt out, exhausted, and mentally drained from classes. That afternoon, I'd just finished a long lecture. My brain felt fried, and I couldn't bring myself to go straight home and start the assignment that was due. I needed air, quiet, something to clear my head. There was a park about 20 minutes from campus. It had 2 distinct sections, a well-kept public area with gardens where families and joggers passed through, and beyond that, deep wooded trails meant for hiking. By the time I parked, it was already past 6. The sun was starting to dip, but I figured I had enough time for a short walk. I didn't plan on doing the full loop, just a few minutes on the trail before heading back. I was near the entrance to the wooded section, just about to turn around, when a woman suddenly flagged me down. She looked to be in her late 30s. She was holding a bright red dog leash and looked completely distraught, out of breath, visibly shaken, and limping heavily on her left leg. She grabbed my arm and asked if I'd seen a golden retriever. She said her dog had slipped out of his collar and run into the woods. I told her I hadn't seen any dogs. Her face crumpled. She pointed toward a darker section of the trail and begged me to help her look, just for a few minutes. She said her phone was dead, and with her leg she couldn't move fast enough to catch him. Without thinking, I agreed. She thanked me and immediately turned toward the trail. That's when the first red flag appeared, though I didn't recognize it at the time. 5 seconds ago, she'd been limping. Now she was walking fast. Once we stepped under the tree cover, the light dropped quickly. The woods grew darker, quieter. Trying to ease the tension, I asked what her dog's name was so I could help call for him. She paused, just for a second, but long enough to feel wrong. Then she said, "Buddy." The strange thing was, she never actually called his name. She just kept walking. My instincts started screaming at me. I watched her closely. The limp was gone. She stepped over roots easily, confidently. She knew exactly where she was going. I suggested again that we should call for the dog. She glanced back at me and said, "No. He's timid. If we yell, he'll run." That didn't make sense. If your dog is lost, you call for them. We reached a fork in the trail. One path led back toward the parking lot. The other was narrow, barely a trail at all, leading deeper into the woods. She didn't hesitate. She took the narrow one. I stopped. I asked, "Are you sure he went this way?" She replied, "Yes. He likes the river." I checked my phone. No signal. The ground was muddy from rain the night before. As I looked down, I noticed there were no paw prints, no signs of a dog running, nothing. I pointed it out to her. She stopped walking, slowly turned around and said, "We'll just check a little further." Just to be sure, we stepped into a small clearing. She moved to the center and stopped, standing completely still, staring into the trees, like she was waiting. That's when I looked at the leash in her hand. It wasn't broken. There was no clip on the end. I said, "I'm leaving." She stepped slightly to the side, blocking the path back, and her voice begged, "Please. Just a few more minutes." I didn't wait to hear the rest. I muttered, "I'm sorry, I have to go," and backed away. The moment I broke her line of sight, I turned and ran. I ran until my lungs burned. I burst out of the tree line and into the glow of the parking lot lights. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and drove away as fast as I could. To this day, I don't know if she was mentally unstable or if I walked away from something far worse. If you have thoughts on either story, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've had a true scary experience, whether it was a creepy stranger, an unsettling coincidence, or something truly paranormal, I want to hear it. Send your story to the email on your screen and check the description box for details. Your experience may be featured in a future video. Let's share the stories that haunt us. If you like this episode, let me know by leaving a like. Subscribe for more stories like these, and share it with someone who won't be sleeping tonight. I bring you new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, stay safe.